The ballroom fell silent when the sharp crack of the whip echoed through the mansion. Dozens of wealthy guests froze, their champagne glasses suspended in midair, while a frightened maid stood trembling near the wall. In front of her, the billionaire's fiancée, Victoria, stood furious, gripping the riding crop as though her wealth gave her the right to decide who deserved dignity and who did not. But then the enormous mansion doors opened. The man everyone had been waiting for finally walked inside. And the moment he saw what was happening, the smile disappeared from his face. Nobody in that room could have imagined that his next decision would change not only the maid's life, but the future of everyone standing there. Before we continue, if you believe that humanity, kindness, compassion, and second chances are more valuable than money or status, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in kindness, leave a comment, and subscribe to Humanity Tales for more emotional stories that remind us that every person deserves respect. Her name was Amara, and she had worked in the mansion for almost 3 years. She was quiet, hardworking, and almost invisible to the wealthy people who lived around her. Every morning, she arrived before sunrise, prepared breakfast, polished the enormous marble floors, and made sure every guest received exactly what they needed. She never complained, even when she was exhausted. Her greatest hope was simple: to earn enough money to support her younger brother, who was still in school after their parents had passed away. That evening, the mansion was filled with important guests. Victoria had organized a glamorous celebration to announce her upcoming marriage to Daniel Carter, a billionaire known for his business empire and his reputation for treating people fairly. Daniel, however, was delayed by an unexpected business meeting. Victoria was irritated by his absence, but nobody dared challenge her mood. Then something went wrong. Amara accidentally knocked over a glass while carrying a tray. The glass shattered across the floor. She immediately apologized and bent down to clean it, but Victoria's anger exploded. In front of the guests, she accused Amara of being careless and disrespectful. Amara tried to explain that someone had bumped into her from behind, but Victoria refused to listen. The room became uncomfortable. Some guests looked away. Others whispered among themselves. Nobody stepped forward. Victoria demanded that Amara apologize publicly. Amara lowered her eyes and did so, even though tears were beginning to form. She knew that losing this job could mean losing her brother's future. But Victoria wanted more than an apology. She picked up the riding crop she had been holding earlier and stepped toward Amara. The frightened maid backed away until she reached the wall. Several guests gasped, but still nobody intervened. Then the mansion doors opened. Daniel walked inside. He had expected to find music, laughter, and celebration. Instead, he saw the woman he planned to marry standing over Amara while the entire room watched in silence. Daniel stopped. For several seconds, nobody moved. His eyes went from Victoria to the frightened maid and then to the guests who had witnessed everything without stopping it. His voice was calm, but the room immediately became colder when he told Victoria to put the crop down. Victoria tried to explain herself. She claimed Amara had embarrassed her and deserved punishment. She expected Daniel to support her because they were engaged. Instead, Daniel walked toward Amara. He did not ask whether she had broken the glass. He did not ask whether she had made a mistake. The first thing he asked was whether she was safe. Amara could barely answer. Daniel then turned toward the guests and asked why nobody had stopped Victoria. Nobody spoke. That silence told him everything. Daniel had spent years building his fortune, but his father had taught him something money could never buy. A person's true character was revealed by how they treated people who could offer them nothing in return. He looked at Victoria and realized something painful. He had fallen in love with the woman he believed she was, not the woman standing before him. He calmly ended their engagement that very night. Victoria was stunned. She argued that Daniel was humiliating her in front of everyone. But Daniel told her that humiliation was not what she was experiencing. Accountability was. Then he did something nobody expected. He walked over to Amara and apologized, not as a billionaire, not as the owner of the mansion, but as a human being who had failed to notice what was happening under his own roof. Amara expected him to send her home. Instead, Daniel told her she had done nothing to deserve what happened. The following morning, Daniel called a meeting with the household staff. He announced new rules protecting every employee from intimidation and mistreatment. He created a confidential system where workers could report abuse without fear of losing their jobs. But he did not stop there. After learning about Amara's family situation, Daniel discovered that her younger brother was an exceptionally talented student whose education was in danger because of financial hardship. Daniel offered him a scholarship through his foundation, not as charity, but as an investment in a young person's future. Amara cried when she heard the news. For the first time in years, she felt that someone had seen her, not as a maid, not as someone beneath the wealthy guests, but as a person with dreams, fears, and a future. Months passed. The mansion changed completely. The staff no longer walked through its halls with fear. Daniel made kindness and respect part of the culture of every company he owned. He also established a foundation dedicated to helping domestic workers and families struggling to afford education. As for Amara, she continued working, but her life began moving in a different direction. Daniel discovered her talent for organization and offered her an opportunity to train for a position within his foundation. She accepted. Years later, Amara stood in a crowded auditorium as the foundation opened a new scholarship center. Her younger brother, now preparing for university, sat proudly in the front row. Daniel stood beside her as she looked at the building bearing the foundation's name. Amara remembered the night when she had stood frightened against a wall, believing her life might collapse because of one mistake. She also remembered the moment the mansion doors opened. One person had walked in. One person had chosen to speak. And one person's decision had changed everything. The lesson was not about wealth. Daniel had billions, but his greatest act of generosity was not the scholarship, the foundation, or the money. It was recognizing that dignity should never depend on someone's position. Sometimes, the person everyone overlooks is carrying the heaviest burden. Sometimes, one act of courage can interrupt years of silence. And sometimes, changing someone's life begins with something as simple as saying, "This is not right." If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to Humanity Tales. Your support helps these stories reach people who may need a reminder that compassion still matters. And before the ending, comment, "Kindness has no status," if you believe every human being deserves respect, regardless of wealth, position, or background. Because in the end, the most powerful person in that mansion was not the one holding the greatest fortune. It was the person who finally chose humanity over silence. And that choice changed everything.